Okay, I'll call to the order the Haywood County Board of Commissioners meeting for March 20th, 2017, and ask everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, we come to you today with thankful hearts. We thank you for our health and our strength, that you have given us another day, and we want to ask for wisdom in all of our decisions that we will make today. I ask that we have discerning hearts, bold faith, and wise minds. Give us understanding that we would not only do what is good, but what is best. Guide us in the way that our county should go. And I want to say a special prayer for our Lieutenant Mike Price's family, and ask that you comfort them and give them strength as they endure the days ahead. Energize their spirits and bodies, both physically and spiritually, and keep them emotionally secure. In Jesus' name, amen.
Okay, next we have the public comment session. At the public comment session, we'll allow anyone who wants to come up to make a public comment. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. We've had some folks that have signed up, and after we've gone through that list, which is short tonight, anyone else that wants to come forward can do so. The first person is Terry Ramey. Evening, Terry.
How you doing, folks? I just come up here, I've got some major concerns that I'd like to express with you. Y'all rented the historic courthouse here to the Republican for the Republican convention last week, and I've got some issues that I'd like to discuss because of the fact that the things that went on at that I think are completely 100% immoral and unethical as it can get. It may not be illegal, but it's unethical bad. And we got, and I know I didn't know this before they rented it, but when we come up here Saturday, they come in here, and it's the instant that they started to nominate people for the chairman of the board, or the Haywood County Commissioner, or the Republican chair. The instant that somebody nominated a slate, they instantly, Kevin jumped up and said, "I want to make a motion to close the nominations," knowing that this is all pre-planned, knowing beforehand that there were other people who wanted to run for chair. There was even people on their side got up and walked out that have been on that side of they call it two sides. I don't think it should be but one, but they call it but two sides. But I've got some papers right here that show the definition of immoral and unethical. I want y'all to look at, and we've got tapes of the meeting. I want y'all to look at and tell me the difference in what another fellow was investigated here at the courthouse, that's a public figure, than how this happened. This is going against the people that's in the party. This is going against the people that's in the county. And this is using our historic courthouse to do it. Without the knowledge, consent of the executive committee or anybody. There was a whole lot on the executive committee that have not even been notified. There's people on the executive committee right now that's not been notified of a meeting that's coming up that are delegates to that convention. And to me, this is the most unethical and immoral thing, and I think it could be done. And I think they used the county right on the back of the county to do it. I understand they rent it. I didn't know about it. I understand they'll rent it to anybody. But as sitting commissioners do this, if they'll do that against the people in their own party, what will they do against the normal people in this county? To me, that is stooping to a new low. I think y'all just paid $20-some thousand to investigate something that's not near as immoral or unethical as this is. And that's the reason I'm here today, because I don't like it, and there's a whole lot of other people that don't like it. Buncombe County's even got a letter that says if it happens in Buncombe County, they're suing their own party. And I just don't think this is right, and I think there need to be some investigations into it. And if anybody needs the proof, we've got the tapes of the meeting. If any one of you fellas can listen to this tape and tell me that that's not wrong, that's not completely 100% unethical, I'll shut up. But if you need me to bring a couple hundred people that thinks it's unethical, I'll be glad to, because Buncombe County's calling, they're coming from everywhere saying they think it's unethical as could be. And I just don't appreciate that as people that backed him to run and then do this to us. I took up for him, by George, some people that didn't even want him to put him on the cheat sheet, as they call it. And then he do this. I'm just not happy. I'm not a bit happy, and I won't be until something's done. I appreciate if you fellows investigate it, just like you done somebody else here that didn't do near as bad. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramey. That's the only written request I had for speaker request. Does anyone else want to speak at the public comment session? Okay, if not, we'll close that and move to constituents' concerns. Brandon?
No, I don't have any concerns other than just a comment. As I mentioned in the prayer, just like to let Mike Price's family know that we're thinking of them and we're praying for them through this tough time. Michael's a good friend of mine. I actually played football with him and graduated with him, and hated that it happened, but he's in a better place, and I want to pray for his family.
The same for me. A lot of our commissioners attended the funeral today, and you hate to see a former student of mine, 45 years old, leave that quickly. I mean, I look at 45 now as a baby. So, Sirlin and the family, we're thinking about you and praying about you. Thank you.
I'll ditto everything said. I was when I was standing in line yesterday. Fellow that was next to me, and we got to talking about how many great people that Haywood County has that serves for us, and Mike was one of them. And we have this fellow was from Florida, and he said he moved up here when he first moved. He moved up here like in 1998, and he said when he first moved up here, he was so impressed with our county employees and the people that serve our county. And I think we just need, we have good people that serve our county that go above and beyond the call. They go beyond what, is called for. And Mike was one of those. And I'm praying for Sarah Lynn and that whole family during this time. He was a great guy. He was like one of us in a way, because he was the sheriff's deputy that was in charge of our meetings. And so I used to always aggravate him. I tell him he's a big guy, a big, strong guy. And I said, I feel so safe when you're here. But he was just a good public servant. And I miss him, and I know we're going to miss him. He had a great attitude. I don't think he always was friendly to everybody. I don't think he had an enemy, and really served our county well. And I do want to just have everyone be praying for Sarah Lynn and his family, because he was just too young.
Yeah, and I just want to make a comment that I want to thank Mike for his service to Haywood County. I am fortunate to have gotten to know him very well in the past several years, and he was just a good person, and he loved Haywood County, he loved Maggie Valley, and it was a pleasure to see him here at the courthouse when we had business here. He was always very pleasurable. And it's just sad that, a young man in the prime of life, has to leave us. So, but I'm a better person for knowing Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I know everyone said something, but I'd like to, too. I've known Mike a long time and played against him, actually. And although he's a little younger than me, unfortunately. And, when they say Mike was big, Mike was 6'7", and he was big as a door. And I only know almost two of those doors. And he was a national weightlifter. I mean, the guy could lift anything. And so just his presence coming into a room was impressive. But the thing is about the guy is he was as gentle and as nice a guy as you'd ever meet, and always positive. I've never heard him make an ill comment about anybody at any point in time. And I had been, around conversations where someone might say this about somebody else, because he was a bailiff. He worked at the courthouse. He dealt with people all the time that sometimes are difficult to deal with. defendants and lawyers alike. And, but he was very positive. And I only wish and hope that one day when they're having my funeral that they say the kind of things about me. I could even just wish they would that they said about Mike today. And I know the sheriff's department will sorely miss him. The show of law enforcement there was very impressive today. I mean, I don't know that there was anyone on the street protecting Haywood County, honestly, but if somebody came near the community college, it'd been a bad day for them. But anyway, I just want to think about that, Sarah-Lyn and her family. You know, as far as the policy on the room can be leased, it can be rented, and we don't distinguish between who can rent it or not. They ask to rent it, they ask to have a meeting, and we don't control what the comments that are made or what happens at those meetings. We just provide this building. It's provided to all the people in Haywood County. If someone wants to lease it, they can have, you know, whatever meeting they want to have here. With that, we'll turn to administrative agency reports, which we don't have any. Do we have any adjustment to the agenda?
I will be, because the sheriff is still working with the family, I'll be handling that matter that has his name on it.
Okay. And which item is that, Ira?
That would be new business
Okay,
number
Number 2. Okay, any other adjustments to the agenda? All right, if not, we'll go towards the consent agenda. The first item there is request approval of March 6, 2017 regular minutes. Does anyone have any changes, corrections to those minutes? Okay, if not, we'll go to request approval of February 2017 refunds, releases, amendments, and discoveries. Judy Hickman?
Hi.
How are you, Judy?
Good. How are you?
Good.
I'm requesting approval for the February releases, refunds, adjustments, and discoveries. I don't have anything to report that's out of the usual business operation.
Okay, commissioners have any questions of Judy? All right, not, thank you, Judy,
Thank
appreciate that. Next is request approval of February 2017 tax collections update. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Our collection rate is 93.6%, and our delinquency number is $3,772,742.38.
Okay, and Lindsay, I guess you're filling in for Mike
Yes.
Matthews. Lindsay, what's your last name?
Hatherley.
Hatherley. I'm sorry, I forgot that. I
That's
just want to
okay.
make sure that was on the record, that you were here. Okay. Commissioners, you have any questions of Lindsay? About the tax collections? Okay, thank you, Lindsay. Next is request approval of the budget amendment for animal services, $13,500. This is Julie Davis, Finance
Good
Director.
evening. I have one budget amendment for you today. It's the $13,500 that Chairman mentioned. You'll remember a few months ago when there was an incident that animal control had to take over dozens of animals and incurred quite a number of expenses in housing and caring for those animals. We also received quite a few donations and because of that incident. So what I'm doing is I'm taking some of the contributions and donations that we received due to that incident and using it to cover some of those additional expenses.
Okay. Commissioners, you have any questions about this? This is when there was a large amount of animals that had to be taken in care. I think the whole community kind of reached out and helped in that situation. Go ahead.
And I just want to say, along what I just said before, was we have employees that go above and beyond the call of duty, and Doyle Teague was stayed in a warehouse with those animals during a cold night in late October, and we took care of it. Took him in because we didn't have a space at our shelter, but we were able to find some warehouse space, and Doyle took him in, worked all weekend, and stayed there night and day until they got those animals to some good homes. And that's just another, I just want to give a shout out when I saw that thing.
Okay, any other questions about that budget amendment? All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we got
Doesn't matter.
Kevin and Bill. We'll let Mike get the next one. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, and that passes unanimously. Next, we'll move to old business, request approval of contract with Gould Killian CPA Group.
You'll remember last meeting where I brought you the results of an RFP we did for our auditors for our annual audit, and Gould Killian CBA Group. It was the most experienced at the least cost. And I mentioned that they'd be sending a contract to me to have you approve. And that's what this is. This is the annual audit contract, and it will be with the new CPA Group, Gould Killian CPA.
Okay, and Julie, do you have any comments, or Chip or Ira, on the contract?
The only thing that I would mention is it is a little bit less expensive than what we've been paying. The actual audit price is going to be $59.9 this year.
Okay, how about the procedures, the services that they're supplying? You think they're adequate?
Yes, and I've had a conversation with them on the phone, and we've also had a meeting with them, and it sounds like they're going to be doing about the same kind of thing where they come in June and do some preliminary testing of some of the invoices and that kind of thing, and then they'll come in a little bit later on in the year after we have our financial statements prepared to do an audit of those statements themselves.
Okay. Any comment, Ira?
No, it's pretty standard,
Okay.
pretty
Chip?
standard contract from what I saw.
No comments, no, look fine.
Okay. Commissioners, you have any questions about this?
Yeah, we looked at this pretty good last meeting and, had some discussion on it, and they've got lots of experience,
They do.
our financial officer feels very comfortable with them, so.
I do.
Not only that, we're saving some money too, so it's always a good
That's
thing.
always a good thing.
Yeah. Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the contract with Gould Killian CPA Group for the annual audit process.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next, we'll move to new business. New business is request approval of consolidation of the emergency medical services and the emergency management offices to become the emergency services with EMS as a branch, and approval of reclassification of positions. And then we got Ira, the county manager, and Greg Shuping, emergency
Yes.
management director.
We do. Good evening, Commissioners and members of the public. After careful study, and this has gone on for some time, I would recommend that we consolidate emergency management and the emergency medical services into an emergency services group. This was a similar model we once had many years ago, and it's a model that, similar model to what other counties work with. I have been reviewing this for some time, and I'll discuss some of the reasons for it. And as part of that review, and also Ms. Stewart assisted in that review, noticed a few things. One, we had some couple of top-level retirements in EMS. We have the new facility scheduled to open, and that opens up some opportunities with having them together. We've noticed an increasing call volume over a number of years, and so when you look at a system, you say, if we continue this trend, what is going to happen with increasing call volume? I met with the field staff and talked with a number of them back in October, and the supervisory staff, and found out what was going on and how we were adapting to that increased call volume and other things. And Ms. Stewart also worked with them a little bit and did some ride-alongs. And so after reviewing all this and looking at what some other counties do, decided that our organizational model could be strengthened, and here's how. When you look at our present organizational model, you have an EMS director, and the director has the dotted lines, communication with and work with the medical director and the medical executive. The EMS director also is directly over 3 shift supervisors, 16 staff. Now, we have some staff that work on a 24/48 schedule, meaning they work for 24 hours and are off for 48 hours. And we have some staff that work for 24 hours and are off for 72 hours. So those we're reporting directly to the director. Part-time staff, we fill in a lot of our shifts when somebody is absent with part-time staff. The EMS director was directly over those. The billing administrator, the administrative assistant, and the training officer. Those were all direct reports presently to your EMS director. The span of control, as you presently have it, is a lot beyond what would be a reasonable span of control. By that, I mean how many people you can actually supervise, know what they're doing, follow up, and think through your procedures. We're a little beyond where you'd want to be. Each of the shift supervisors works with the staff under them, and those would be the people that were riding the ambulance. And their span of control as it presently sits is about where you would want it, with about eight direct reports on a shift. So you have this, and it leads to a little issues with continuity of operations when the EMS director, you need to do some juggling if an EMS director is not in that position. And also, again, the span of control and the work is a little bit big there. On the other side of the equation, if you look down at the bottom in red, you'll find out how we've been running emergency management. We have our director with us, who is Greg Shuping. Greg presently supervises 3 part-time staff and then an incident management team of 20. And during an incident, this is scalable to become a much larger organizational setup. But what you'll notice in terms of continuity of operations on this line is that you don't go right to a full-time staff member if something happens to your emergency management director, whether it be going out for several weeks on some kind of incident or anything. So you have a continuity of operations problem there. It's been known for a long time, and our strategy's basically been luck. And it's worked for a number of years, but I don't know that that's how we want to go with our continuity on our position. So what we're proposing is to go to a situation with the emergency services director, and I would propose that we have Greg Shuping do this, become over this entire branch, and looking down into the positions in green, those are functions that could be both emergency management and emergency medical services, and that would allow you continuity. And if one of the questions that someone may ask is about looking at a management structure and you're adding layers of management, and again, sometimes you have to put more management infrastructure to handle increased production on the bottom, which in this case is call volume, so that you can have enough and adequate ongoing operational direction and supervision. On the one hand, you have a branch coming down. If you'll notice on the left side, that's an operational branch. That would be your daily operational tasks. These functions are split along lines with the federal emergency management alignment, and it would be very familiar to people who work in emergency services in EMS to look at a chart like this and realize that on the one branch you have operations, and on the other side you have your logistics and planning and financial. So going down the operations branch, you now have an operations director that is over EMS but is also cross-trained in emergency management. It gives you a continuity directly up with a full-time employee if for some reason you don't have an emergency services director handling those functions. You also have an operation officer under them. Presently within your organization, and how we would get here is to you have some floating positions, being people that could be assigned anywhere at any time, down on lower grade positions. And I would recommend upgrading a couple of those to bring about some of the management. But you presently have your emergency management director, your EMS and medical services director, and your training officer. Those are vacancies presently. Your administrative assistant is filled. That's one of the other green positions. So you're really talking about reclassifying 2 positions to get to this. Going down the operations chain, you then would have, and you also have assistant supervisors under your present system. This will allow for better control. It allows also for scalability, meaning that if you have to grow bigger in an incident, your span of control is not so great that you can't handle it. It will allow for better logistical and planning. Often when you, and I'm just going to go back for a second, when you get to a span of control that looks like this with the EMS director, you do a great job, and you always make sure that patient care comes first in the day. And that can leave in operations. If your call volume grows much beyond 11,000, I'm going to submit to you that your planning and your logistics and your efficiency is going to go down because you don't have anybody really looking at those functions. And that's where I'm going to swing you to the right side of the equation here. You have another deputy administrative director who can go up and fill in for the emergency services director. So you're now having 3 people full-time as opposed to plugging in with part-time players, the ability to keep that director position in emergency management going. You have your training officer on here reporting to logistics and planning side of the house, which takes them off your operations director, which means that the operations people can focus on what's happening on the day, and the training plant officer can focus on the longer-term picture on making sure everybody gets trained. You still have your administrative assistant reporting to the other side of the organizational chart, so that, again, your operations people, you want them saving lives. You want 100% of that blue focus on that side of the equation on the day on saving lives. And you want to let somebody else order the uniforms, somebody else fix the trucks, somebody else handle the finances, somebody else find your policies and figure your best practices. And that's where you'll go. Because right now, you have all of those functions, ordering uniforms, ordering supplies, fixing your trucks and all that, spread out among staff down in the blue. And what it does, they've done a great job on focus, but as your call volume increases, and that's what this is really about, planning for the future, this is going to be able to handle the increased call volume better. Again, they have done a great job downstairs. They have done a great job taking care of people. You have a tremendously dedicated crew, and that's one thing that I did learn in all of these conversations, in all of this look. You have a lot of tremendously dedicated people, but you have a system that's going to fail them, and you have a system that's very hard on those directors, including the way Greg was, and including the emergency medical director. And this is putting in place a better supportive system. And did you want to make any comments?
I just want to reiterate the fact that 2 good friends of mine retired this year, Jim Presley and also Kurt Bizub. The leadership of EMS was there. Super folks that are almost irreplaceable, but that's what I just said, irreplaceable. And when you have a limited organizational chart where you don't have a really good span of control, when those great folks leave, where you're left with only the operational folks. And so what I was most impressed about the way Ira made the org chart was that there was continuity of the positions there. I think all of us would agree that EMS and emergency management need that continuity. If someone falls by the wayside, God forbid an injury or anything that occurs to them, we need folks that are capable, trained, and qualified to pick up the slack and keep the ball rolling. And I believe that that's what this does.
Yeah. Again, thank you for mentioning those folks. We've had some great leadership.
Yeah, along the same theme that I've been talking about, Jim Presley was another great employee that we've just, that's retired. And I think the job was very stressful as it was, and I think he was probably, dealing with shoestring, on a shoestring, I guess you could say, and he's not there anymore. So,
yeah, this is where you put it, but it's also, again, given the demographics of our county, I think you have to look realistically. We're at 11,000 calls. I don't think that number goes down. I think that number goes up. I think it's a fairly safe bet that it goes up, and you're going to be better able to handle it with this organizational structure than the future call volume.
a couple questions. I think that, we've had some conversations on this and, but for the general public, when you look at that other chart, as is chart now, and then you go back and look at the new chart, it looks to be a lot more people, but that's not really the case. I mean, and then, it looks, when you look at the chart before and after, you think, well, there's more people, more expense. But really, that's not the case.
There will be expense in the upgrading of positions. That will be an expense you'll have. But we're going to use the floating positions to come into the two training positions.
So you're really not looking at additional people,
Right.
And it's going to have some cost, but not an absorbent amount. And for what we're trying to do and become better, it's probably money well spent.
I would agree that it's money well spent because that system, you've stretched your capacity, possibly beyond. If you don't have somebody that's dedicated to some of the people you had basically living here in your EMS director position, you're beyond it with 11,000 calls a year. And that's really what you're doing. You're saying, okay, what kind of a structure do I need to have without adding a lot of people? One of the suggestions, one way you could go, is to just simply put assistant directors in each of those O charts, and that still would give you one deep continuity there on each side. But you're still going to have the same expense roughly. Yeah. To leave it as is, would not recommend. Because you want to make sure that of that continuity. This gains you some efficiency in another way, because like I say, you have one branch over there that's going to be focusing on ordering the supplies, making sure the trucks are working, making sure everybody has the same kind of uniforms and they're all working well, making sure the training credentials, and you have another group here that on the day is just focused on saving lives. Mm-hmm. They're not worrying about that other stuff. They're just focused on getting out in the field as quickly as possible and saving lives. And that's gonna be an advantage, I think, over the long haul.
I think what you just said is the most important. Is the focus is back where it needs to be, and we've taken a lot of work off of some of those individuals that should be out in the field. They're not back worrying about, we need this, we need that. Am I correct in that?
They are doing an excellent job with what they have, but you're exactly correct. As your call volume goes up, dropping back to a more FEMA model, which is the emergency management model. This is not whole cost creation. If you look at the way they do it, they'll have an operations side. If you go to an incident, they'll have the logistics and planning and finance and administration side. So dropping back to that model will give you a better capability as those calls come in to keep their focus on saving lives.
And everybody really has a boss, and the change of command looks to me like it's better with the new model. Is that?
It's got a stronger chain of command.
Right. Okay.
How long have we had this chart that we're doing right now? How long has that been in place? Would you estimate?
Since the beginning.
We probably have a lot of increased costs since the beginning.
Yeah, we started out with only 2 ambulances, as many of you know, and back in the days when the rescue squad was the paramedic level service here, and then finally EMS took that over in the early 90s. And we had an EMS director, and then we had 2 ambulances, one in Canton and one in Waynesville. And then we expanded to another one in Maggie, and then we went to a daytime truck, and one thing led to another, and now here we are with 6 ambulances and per shift, 24 hours per day. And so the one person managing that many we've just outgrown that particular.
Well, I know the sheriff's department. He was telling us about the increased calls that he's got now versus what it used to be, and he's using the same model, and he's got to make a change too. And I guess this is pretty much this. I mean, he's getting increased calls on crime, and of course we're getting, we got more people.
They all really run together, don't they? And so all the 911 calls, whether it be fire, law enforcement, or EMS, are on the rise. Right. Unfortunately, that's just the way what we're in.
So this chart will help us keep up with that volume of calls that we're.
Yes, sir. The organizational chart as proposed here would be ready to handle if we ever needed to add more additional EMS crews, whether it be by day or shift workers or whatever. we're ready the management structure is there to do that.
And yes, and the management structure is here to make those determinations better for your future too, because you've got somebody looking at logistics and planning that's separate. So
I think the main thing is that, y'all are saying this will help patient care and getting to patients, which is what EMS is all about. I mean, when you call
Yes.
them, you want them there then, and you don't need to worry about, well, the EMS guy's out, on you have to take a vacation every now and then and stuff, so.
Yeah, you've had a lot of wonderful people, and they have done a great job with what they have been given. But sometimes you look at an organization and you say, can we support the people below better to do their job? Well, yeah, you can support it. You can put more people above them to help make sure that we've got enough eyes on them to make sure that they're supported. And this is entirely like, if you go back here, just what we were saying a minute ago, Greg Shippen was saying a minute ago, if you have 2 or 3 ambulances, this chart is more than adequate, and a call volume of 4,000 calls. But when you're dropping 6 ambulances on the road for 11,000 calls a year, that puts a lot of stress on this kind of a structure, or what one person can reasonably do.
Yeah, and that's calls that you've got to take. I mean, that's not a call you can ignore or look at it and say, I'll take that later. You got to take those calls, so it's important.
No, every time they go in the field, that's exactly right. Over 75% of the time, someone's being taken to the hospital on those calls. Sometimes you may get somebody that refuses. Sometimes you get there and maybe the person is in a condition where they don't want to transport, or sometimes they've been transported. But over 75% of the time, they're driving somebody to the hospital out of that. So yeah, you've got to take them.
Ira, you said that this model lines up with some other counties?
Other counties would have an emergency services director over EMS and emergency management. So we have a number of counties that have an emergency services office with an emergency management over emergency management and EMS. Slight variant is that we have 2 deputy directors that are lined up on the FEMA model, and that's a slight variant. If we were larger, you might go a discipline model with EMS and emergency management split out. But with the number of personnel you have, in order to get, it would cost FTEs or full-time employees, but also in order to get your continuity of operations in a small to mid-sized model, we went with this.
I know you also said you talked with some of the other supervisors
Yes.
and other folks. Is everybody okay with this model that you spoke with? I shouldn't say everybody, but most.
I did speak with supervisors, and they looked at this. I think mostly they're going to be glad to have a director. They're all glad that we are focusing as much as we are on the patient care, because that's the heart of what they do, and that's why these people go into this business. That's why you stay away from your family 24 hours and then 48 hours later show up and do it again. They're all about the patient care. And so when they saw that that's what we're also very interested in that, they were okay with that.
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay, well, it appears to me that it should provide better organization, control, guidance for the employees, direction, efficiency, and of course, better service. And since we have substantial more calls and 2-4 service, we need that.
Yes.
Especially in these instances where it could be somebody's life on the line.
Well, it will allow you to grow, yes.
Okay, and so you guys all agree with that, everybody? Any other comments? All right, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the consolidations of the emergency medical services and the emergency management offices to become the emergency services with EMS as a branch, in accordance with this proposed emergency services organizational chart that has been presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ira. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Next is request resolution ratifying the mutual assistance agreement for drug partnership with the Cherokee Indian Police Department as entered into July of 2016. And as indicated earlier, Sheriff Christopher is still attending with the services for Lieutenant Price, and so Ira's stepping in for him.
Yes, I'm just going to read the resolution for you. It's a resolution ratifying mutual assistance agreement with other law enforcement agencies for drug partnership. Whereas pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes 9095.2, the head of any law enforcement agency may temporarily provide assistance to another in enforcing the provisions of Article 90 drug enforcement when requested in writing by the head of another agency. And whereas it is indeed to be in the best interest of the citizens of Haywood County to adopt a reasonable policy and guidelines, whereas reciprocal law enforcement assistance can be both rendered and obtained from other governmental jurisdictions, and whereas the Sheriff of Haywood County entered into mutual assistance agreement for drug partnership with the Chief of Police of the Cherokee Indian Police Department on July 15, 2016, and is requested that such agreement be ratified and approved by the Board of Commissioners of Haywood County, and whereas such reciprocal assistance is necessary for effective law enforcement for the protection of the citizens of Haywood County, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners, the aforesaid mutual assistance agreement for drug partnership entered into on July 15, 2016 by the Sheriff of Haywood County is hereby ratified and approved. The Sheriff is hereby authorized to permit officers of the Haywood County Sheriff's Office to work temporarily with officers of the aforesaid requesting agency pursuant to 9095.2 as deemed advisable. All such requests and authorizations shall be in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 9095.2 as applicable. While working with a requesting agency, an officer shall have the same jurisdiction, power, rights, privileges, and immunities, including those related to defense of civil actions and payment of judgment as the officers of the requesting agency, in addition to those the officer normally possesses. That while on duty with the requesting agency, an officer shall be subject to the lawful operational commands of superior officers within the requesting agency. The officer shall, for personnel and administrative purposes, remain under the control of the officer's own agency, including for purposes of pay. An officer shall furthermore be entitled to workers' compensation and the same benefits to the extent as though he were functioning within the normal scope of officer duties. That is the resolution to be adopted this date. It will also be passed on to the Eastern Band of the Cherokee Indian.
Okay, any questions of Ira? And basically, this is, we have that connection right there at SoCo, Highway 19. We have a lot of people coming back and forth from the reservation, the casino, and the sheriff has obviously requested this and entered into this in the past, so this is just a continuing mutual aid assistance agreement. Beneficial to Haywood County as well as the reservation.
Yes, we hope it will benefit the Eastern Band. Their police chief has signed as well, so.
Okay.
And we've done several of these with the surrounding counties already, so.
Correct.
All right. Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution ratifying the mutual assistance agreement for drug partnership with the Cherokee Indian Police Department as requested by Sheriff Greg Christopher.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And that passes unanimously. Thank you, Ira. Next, we'll go to request approval of a lease agreement of office space located at Haywood County Agricultural Services Center, 589 Raccoon Road. Ira?
Yes, every 3 years, we've been working with the state, and I think this goes back all the way to 1999, if I'm not mistaken, that we enter into a lease, and this is where the soil and water division is out there with Leslie Smathers and that group that handles that. So we provide the space is the ag building, and we provide a number of things for them.
Okay. And you've got the lease, commissioners, in front of you. And is there any changes to this lease, or could you highlight the changes, if there are any, to the previous lease?
A Comparing the leases, I didn't really see any changes. I mean, even the rental is the same, and it's been the same a long time. However, they do a lot of good work for the county, and the building would go back to them if we stopped using it for agricultural purposes. So.
Okay. And we just lease a small space to them, 165 square feet is actually what it is.
They probably have a little more, but it's pretty close.
It's pretty small.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they probably have a little bit more, but it's pretty close.
Okay. All right, any other questions of Ira? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the lease agreement of office space at the Haywood County Agriculture Services Center to the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services as presented as Attachment 6.
So move.
All right, any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, and that passes unanimously. Okay, next we'll move on to request approval of a resolution in honor and support of the work done in Haywood County by the Lions Clubs and in support of the April 1st, 2017 Lake Junaluska Benefit Concert by Balsam Range.
Well, before I read this resolution, I would call up Max Bumgarner, who is the district governor for Western North Carolina for the Lions Club International, and all the good work they've done. And then I'll read the resolution momentarily here. This resolution is, whereas Lions Clubs International has a rich and long history of service to Haywood County community and all of Western North Carolina, with 5 clubs serving Haywood County alone, and whereas Lions Club International is the largest humanitarian service group in the world with 1.4 million members in over 200 countries and 46,000 clubs, and whereas among the specific projects offered by the Lions Clubs in Haywood County are eye screenings for elementary school children, purchase of glasses and eye exams for those in need, provision of support and mobility canes for blind citizens, provision of funds for clinical eye research at various state universities, providing iPads to middle school students, providing backpacks to needy students, helping with school lunch programs for children, and forming LEO clubs at both county high schools to develop leadership and skills. And whereas the Lions Club of Western Carolina are sponsoring a benefit concert on April 1st, 2017 at Stewart Auditorium at Lake Junaluska, featuring internationally renowned Haywood County bluegrass band Balsam Range, with 100% of the proceeds going for the assistance to the blind and visually impaired. And whereas Balsam Range was organized by and is led by Haywood County Sedimentation Control Director and Haywood County native Dr. Mark Pruitt, now therefore be it resolved that the Haywood County Board of Commissioners honors and supports the work done in Haywood County by its Lions Clubs and support a large attendance at the April 1st Lake Junaluska concert.
Okay, Mr. Bumgarner, would you like to make any comments?
The only thing I would say is over the last several years, Lions Clubs have seen a significant increase in the number of requests from blind and visually impaired for help in purchasing glasses and eye examinations. Obviously, with the change in the way budgets are done, this has brought about this increase. So each year, we have to look for new and creative ways to increase revenue to provide for these folks. So this is a way to do this year and also provide an evening of enjoyment for residents of Haywood County. And you might be interested in knowing that we have had ticket sales as far away as Massachusetts, Texas, and Florida for this concert. So they have a pretty good following.
Max, you might want to give a plug, I'm in the Lions Club too, a plug on our big fundraiser for the National Convention in Chicago.
Lions are 100 years old this year. 50 years ago, the convention was in Dallas, Texas, and the Pisgah Band had the privilege of leading the North Carolina delegation in that parade. I fortunately had the opportunity of being drum major of the band that year. This year, the Pisgah Band is going to Chicago to once again lead the North Carolina delegation in the 100th anniversary parade in Chicago. So we're working to help them raise money also.
Thank you.
Bill, would you like to add anything since you're a Lions Club member?
Well, I guess the blind and visually impaired are our number one goal, so I know it means a lot. We have one person, I can't remember her name, that a member of our Lions Club that our members go get Max each week. And she participates, even though she's never seen any of us. It just makes your heart feel good that our people are so into helping others. And maybe she can go to that convention also. That would kind of be a blessing.
Well, Max, we appreciate you, and we appreciate and Bill and all the Haywood County Lions Club members and what they do, and I can't think of any reason why we shouldn't support a resolution helping those in need. So, with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve this resolution in honor and support of the work done in Haywood County by the Lions Clubs in Haywood County, and in support of the the benefit that they're going to have on April 1st, 2017, where they have a concert by Balsam Range. And of course, all of these proceeds are going for assistance to the blind and the visually impaired.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And that passes unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for your support. If you don't have your tickets, I do happen to have some with me tonight.
All right, thanks, sir.
And you did bring your boss with you, Debbie, so we appreciate that.
Okay, next we'll have a request approval of appointment to the Library Board of Trustees. We have one position available. We had three, and while Ira brings those up here, we had three very potential.
Mr. Chairman, do we have to vote? Do we
Well,
have?
it's tough. It's tough. You're right, Bill. Had three applicants. They were Kim Garman, Deborah Gaddy, and Sally Schaefer. All made application, all had very good interviews, and unfortunately, we can only elect one. So if you'll select one. And as always, we appreciate all the people who make application to serve on the boards in Haywood County. This is the board that I actually serve on.
Okay. We have 4 votes for Sally Schaefer, so that is who you have elected.
Okay, so Sally, I will, do we vote on, Chip, do we vote after we vote?
You actually do vote.
We appoint? Okay, I'll entertain a motion that pursuant to the vote that just took place, that Sally Schaefer be appointed to the library board.
Second.
Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, and that passes. And again, thank you to all the applicants. Next item is announce we have a Board of Commissioners work session on April 6th, 2017, beginning at 2 o'clock at the Health and Human Services Agency Training Room. And this is for Haywood County Schools and Haywood Community College budget requests. So are we going to take them in that order? Haywood County Schools first and then Haywood Community College?
Yes, I believe we are.
All right, we'll ask everyone who wants to attend. That's open to the public. It's usually a pretty engaging meeting. So if you'd like to be there, it's at 2 o'clock on April 6th. Commissioners have any problems with that time, date and time? All right. Okay, commissioners have anything else to offer at the meeting tonight? Any comments? Okay. I don't have any other business here. We've got no closed session. So,
I hate to go home this early. I might
Well-
have to have a note.
This ain't normal, is it?
no, it's not. Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned.